All right, so let's talk about Pakistan's capital, Islamabad. There's a whole legal world there, and it's all governed by one single body. But what exactly is it? And who's in charge? Today, we're going to get into all of it. We're talking about the Islamabad Bar Council.
Think about it. Who's actually keeping an eye on the thousands of lawyers practicing in Islamabad? Who sets the rules of the game, protects their rights, and makes sure they're actually serving the cause of justice? Well, that's the job of the Islamabad Bar Council, and we're about to break down exactly what they do.
Okay, so officially, the Islamabad Bar Council, or IBC for short, is the main group for all the lawyers in the capital. Now, that word statutory is really important here. It basically means the council isn't just some club, its power and its very existence are backed up by the law, specifically the Legal Practitioners and Bar Councils Act.
And its whole purpose really boils down to two big things. On one side, it's like a shield. It's there to protect the rights and the interests of the lawyers themselves. But on the other side, it's a watchdog, making sure that everyone's conduct is up to snuff, which is, of course, absolutely crucial for the justice system to work at all.
So, what's the council's mission, really? Let's take a closer look at what actually drives their day-to-day work.
So, the whole mission really stands on four main pillars. First, promoting top-notch legal services. Second, making sure everyone has fair access to justice. And third, holding up the highest ethical standards. But it's this fourth one that's kind of fascinating. It's also their job to actively create business opportunities for lawyers, not just in Pakistan, but on the world stage too. Okay, so who's actually running the show here? Let's get into the leadership structure for a minute. Now, this is where the power dynamic gets really interesting. You'd probably assume the vice chairman is the big boss, right? They're the elected figurehead, but the real power, the actual authority to make the final call on everything the council does, that belongs to the chairman of the executive committee. So, yeah, one is the public face, but the other one holds all the cards. And to add one more piece to the puzzle, the Advocate General of Islamabad is also technically a chairman, but it's what's called an ex officio role, which is mostly ceremonial. The real day-to-day power, the decision-making, that stays firmly with the members who are elected by their peers. And here are the folks behind those titles. You can see Mr. Nasir Ahmad Kayani as the vice chairman, and right there, Syed Kamar Hussain Shah Sabzwari, who's the powerful chairman of the executive committee. And of course, you've got the leaders of other critical areas, like the disciplinary and legal education committees. But the council wasn't always its own independent thing. The story of how it got its autonomy is a really key part of understanding what it is today. So it all kind of kicks off with that big national law back in 1973, which set the stage for all bar councils. For decades, Islamabad's lawyers were actually under the umbrella of the Punjab Bar Council. But then in 2014, a huge change happened. The law was amended and it carved out a totally separate independent council just for the capital. A year later, in May of 2015, they held their very first elections. And just like that, the Islamabad Bar Council was officially up and running as its own self-governing body. Okay, so we've got the structure, we've got the history, but what does all this mean in the real world? Like, what's the actual practical impact the IBC has on the community? This is really where the rubber meets the road. We're talking about practical, modern services. Things like putting ID card forms online for lawyers, or making complaint forms easy for the public to download. They're also offering hands-on courses for new lawyers, digitizing all their records to make things easier, and they even help streamline the whole process for advocates who want to practice in the Supreme Court. And, this quote from the vice chairman pretty much sums up their whole approach. The goal is to be a source of easy, inexpensive, and paperless information. It's really all about using tech to make the legal profession more efficient and way more accessible for all its members. Of course, it's not all been a walk in the park. They're a pretty new organization, and they used to be part of a much larger council. So figuring out their own finances, securing annual budgets, getting all the funds transferred over from the Punjab Bar Council, that's all still a work in progress. Building a new institution from the ground up just takes time. So as we wrap this up, it all kind of leads to a much bigger question, doesn't it? We've seen the structure, the mission, and the services of the Islamabad Bar Council. But how does having a strong, independent body like this end up strengthening justice, not just for the lawyers, but for every single citizen who depends on them? It's definitely something to think about.